Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Community Podcast. This episode particularly is going to be very interesting because we have a movement practitioner in this episode, Mr. Bhargav Thanki. He has been training over different disciplines of movement that he has incorporated into his life, and he got into this concept of movement which we are going to be discussing in this episode, and breaking some nutrition and myths around the fitness and the kind of approaches that you can use and incorporate into your own personal routine. How he has been training his clients, and it's going to be very interesting all in all. So, I would say, due to some technical difficulties, I was not able to capture the first 8 minutes of the podcast. In those 8 minutes, he was going over his upbringing and how he has got up into the point where he got more interested. So we'll be continuing from that point, from a particular year that he was sharing us with. So without any further ado, let's continue this podcast.
The education systems and families views that after certain age, especially when you come to 10th class and then your higher schooling, you focus more on your studies, more on books and stuff. So I was it parted ways with my movement practices. And that time I didn't have even this word movement. It was just there. It was just to go and play football with friends and stuff. But then something changed in 2013 when I moved to another city. And this was the first time I'm shifting to a new place, completely away from my family, alone, figuring out stuff. And luckily, I found my old teacher who used to teach me judo when I was a kid. So we just met and it clicked after a long time. And he just invited me that he is also here. So you should come, like, join me and we will do some stuff and just come to the place. So I was very excited because it has been like 3, 4 years then that I haven't properly moved. Everything was changed. Uh, and then this coach got me back to the track, and I was surprised. Like I didn't know that it wasn't going to be a judo training again. It was a CrossFit. So I was introduced to CrossFit in 2013, 14. A community like we started to like give birth to a community. Eventually, in an year or so, we had so many people coming to that place, and it holds a very foundation of what I'm doing and what I am right now as a human being. So, but after like 2, 3 years again, I felt the first limitations as I was 16, 17 years old now, and I had a more mature and rational mind. So this workout seemed good. It helped me release trapped uh, energy, but still after 3.5 years, something happened and I had to part my ways with my coach and I was completely left alone. And this was a very dark phase in my life where I had to leave what I was like, what I loved the most doing in my day. So I was quite depressed. I can be honest with that. That how I will make it, who will train me, etc., etc. But that fire within me, after 5, 6 months, I couldn't. Then I jumped back, started to do something, whatever I remember from my coach teaching, and eventually I came across calisthenics. So this was the first time I introduced for myself to calisthenics, and I saw like, okay, pretty much of it is done in CrossFit, and what is difference? And that curiosity led me to explore calisthenics, and also the hunger of moving and getting better with my body in terms of the way I move more than the way I look. Got me into calisthenics because it was first of all cheap in terms of not signing up in the gym. You don't need any gym, you don't need much equipment, you can get it in the park, you can do it at any place, any time. So my past experience under guidance helped me a lot with tackling the new discipline, and I started to ace in terms of progression and stuff. So over time I felt that in CrossFit that I was like it was a paradigm shift for me that it was too rigid, too outcome focused. Like you have to do this much of sets and get this. That's good. That's good to achieve. But all the time, like, I don't know, since I was training till the time I was parted ways, that time I was not into it much. But later I realized, okay, it was so much, I would say, limited. And I wanted more. I wanted more, but I didn't know what I wanted. Maybe I was chasing for that satisfaction. Maybe I was chasing for that new challenges. So eventually I got this calisthenics, and now it was completely different view. There was no restrictions on this. You can't do this. You want to do. And then I started to understand the hierarchies of the skills and started to learn more on human anatomy and how body mechanics work. And I'm graphic designer and visual artist. So I did my of my bachelor's in this creative field. So by that time I was doing job in graphic designing, game developing, stuff like that. But I saw that in the time of offices also I started to teach other people just doing cartwheels and random stuff just to keep them engaged and keep it light and fun. Then I was like, boy, you are not fit for the office to sit 9 hours and best job. So I struggle with my work because I don't come from a very good financial background. So I had to have my struggles to keep doing what I love to do and also have something to earn and build a life. So, but eventually I didn't give up. So opportunities followed. People started noticing me. Uh, I I started to hear the same thing my thoughts were telling me through other people, any random people. So uh, I didn't chase it. Basically, I left it where it was, and I kept doing my work. And luckily, I found somebody to just inspire me and nudge me to do yoga course. And I was like, yeah, let's do it because I'm hungry. You know, like you are giving beggar uh, uh, uh 3 days ago food and be like, go eat it, and you'll be like, okay, this is the best I can have. So I was like, anything, I would love to do anything. I want to learn something. I want to put my mind into some work. And I did yoga. And that changed a lot in the way I looked at fitness.
Which year
I
was
felt this was 2019. I was talking 2019. So I we traveled from 2013 to 2019, almost 5 to 6 years. And yeah, 2019 was the time when I did my yoga thing.
That's awesome. So
Yes.
lots of things have pushed you into that direction, I guess.
So I would say that till date, I didn't had a real choice. It was just handed over to me something, and I had to make the choice, and I moved forward with the curiosity, and that worked for me. So I consider it now as I see it in the hindsight that it was all meant to be, and everything that happened, good, bad, ugly, and pushed me further into what I love. And yeah, that's pretty much, I guess it's a movement journey that I call. It was already there. There was no tag, there was no label on things I did. So then came movement. So yeah, it's still there. If let me know if I continue or I'll pause for some time.
So there are a lot of things that have inspired you to where you are right now. And like it's a one discipline that from many components of discipline you get to know about, like, right now this is what you call a movement. This is a term that you came up to.
Yes. Yes, and there is a story behind incidents behind this as well. If you allow me, I would love to share some insights how I came with this movement thing.
Yeah, sure. Like, what inspired you
Okay.
actually?
To call what I call it, and I'm at the words I don't even want to call anything. But yeah, I will come to that later. But so the thing is, see, in 2019, I did my yoga. Okay. After that, I was not much like, I didn't prepare any things like that. I'll do this or that after yoga. I just wanted to do. Remember, I was just curious or learning something. So I did yoga and I got to know that, okay, there is much more to than how many push ups I can do or how many miles I can run. It was much more than that. And more was that how I am feeling, how I can understand what I do, why I do the way I do, and stuff through the yoga, the food that I eat, the emotions, the moods that I go through. So this helped me a lot to understand and be patient with myself. And then I just had a little bit of change. I started to incorporate more of like breath work, pranayamas, and uh, meditation practices. Later on, because of yoga, I got just a reference of for a job in Pilates. So this was the time 2019, early uh, time of 2019, where I got an opportunity to train Pilates and first myself, and then I got the job for it for the same. Here is the pivoting point for me because from this point I was like, for until this point I was like, I know everything, I know better. But the moment I learned Pilates and I was trying to get what Joseph Pilates was trying to do, I was more confused. That what do I call it now? Now, by the time also people used to ask what I am doing, and I didn't really had any one thing to say. Like most of the people used to think that I'm a gym guy. So, and I didn't like it, to be honest. It was very frustrated. I used to get irritated because of the tag gym. So I was already dealing with that and I was doing my stuff. Yeah. So I didn't like that perception and I tried to make them understand, but I couldn't have, like, I didn't have any particular words here to say. So at this time, when I did Pilates, I got an opportunity to go in depth with the work that Joseph Pilates did. And then I found out that it's okay to mix things up and research on your own experience and again teach the same with some new perspective. So Pilates is a combination of majorly it's inspired by yoga, the techniques of breathing and the postures, then gymnastics, ballistic stretching, uh, a bit of martial arts, cardio. So it was a mixture of a lot of things. But what was stood different was his purpose. His purpose was more on rehabilitation and getting back body which is balanced mentally, physically, spiritually. So here I got more confident on the things that I did because I was till now I was teaching three, four disciplines already. So now I got to know how to structure it. And after that, so I came across this amazing person, Ido Portal, around 2008. But I was not much into it. It was for me just a guy doing a cool physical tricks and stuff. But around 2020, because everything was shut down, and I was like, I got more time to research on myself and research on the stuff that I love to do. Then I came across again capoeira, and through capoeira, I came to Ido again. And now I was looking at the Ido with complete different lenses because by the time I had my own experiences, so I was looking at Ido with complete different perspective, and I was like, nothing else can teach me the way his method can do. So I started to follow him, and from there I got the definition of what I was practicing: movement, movement practice. So the idea of giving the name movement is because we are humans and we need symbols, we need references to understand the world. This is how our mind operates. But as such, we really don't need any labels to do something or to learn something. So hence to keep it for myself first, I did movement practice, but now it later on it become the one for others to make them understand that what I'm doing, to communicate better what I'm doing. But now I am to the point that even movement practice has mixed with living life. Like movement is equals to life. Like everything that you do, it's sitting and watching a sunset or just having a run or doing weightlifting, etc. So this is how I got to have movement terminology through Ido Portar, his methods, his students.
Okay.
Yeah, that's from my side.
Yeah, so he's the guy that has been a pivot point for
Yes.
you to understand about the movement. And
Movement and about what I am doing, what I want to do, and where should I head now.
perfect. So, like, it's something that what you do in your daily life that has been absorbed into what you practice, and everything you like believed in, and whatever you beliefs that you holded up till now, that has been symbolized as a movement, uh, a term movement.
Movement. In Yeah, if I just give few lines to it, it will be like movement is not another method. It's not another workout. It's more a way. It's a way of reconnecting to self, your body, your breath, the truth. Basically, that the reason you are alive is much more than which house you live in, which city you live in. It's much more than what thoughts you have. Uh, so it's more of me getting close to my fears, curiosity. So it's a way of reconnecting for me, the movement practice, just to check in with myself.
That's the amazing thing to be clear about.
Yes, but it took a while. It took a while to get to express this because see, movement can be a therapy, it can be a meditation, it can be resistance, it can be expression all at once also. So what I keep as a checkpoint when I practice is awareness over performance. In any practices that I do, I don't want to be better than other or even myself. I just want to be aware what I'm doing and rest falls in place. That's the magic of movement practice. Everything happens, the results come. Sometimes it's very surprising that I can do stuff.
So, what do you think abhi the kind of way are approaching, the way the people are approaching is towards chasing an aesthetic way or a functional fitness way? Like how this, when someone goes into this movement, the kind of things that they should be having in their mind with a certain clarity, uh, how should they approach this?
I got you. So, first of all, I will see is that let the movement approach you, then you approach any other practices. Because right now, we are living in the world of misinformation. There is a lot of information that we even don't need. And most of it is creating problems like mental issues, physical issues, and anxiety and stress and stuff. Second point, I would say I face challenges here when people come with certain expectations of the practice and movement practice wide. It's the universe of all the disciplines. So when they come, what I see is a lack of awareness of self and the lack of awareness of how outside affects the inside and inside affects the outside. So this is the major challenge, like common point of challenge in anything. It could be weight loss or weight gain. It could be getting fitter or it could be just getting active. Everything comes down to this challenge. The clear perspective is not there. And all the perspective are imposed from the external. For example, people come to me for a weight loss, which is a like 80% of people coming to the fitness industry or any gym or any yoga has in their mind to lose the weight, because it it's not coming from the point of the truth that the weight gain is affecting them more than physically the weight, but how they look and what others think about them, which is, I think, inevitable to change how others think about you until you change in it yourself. So this has been a very challenging part to me. Initially, it was very tough because I can see I can help them to achieve what they want, but they are pulling themselves and me, dragging to a completely opposite side. Because when we start doing movement, there are things going to be which you don't like. And initially, as a beginner, trust me, nobody likes the thing with where there is a stress, where there is a challenge. So it has been very difficult in this point where to make them understand that the challenge is that the practice is actually good for the body, good for the mind. It challenges us, and challenges actually shapes us to get stronger and resilient in life in general. So I teach people how to listen inward and not follow outward cues blindly, and how to balance both, because if just listening inside worked, it have been better to close yourself in a room and you are fine. But I think the world doesn't operate like that. It's an integration of the outside and inside, and I try to bring that in the practice.
The balance of it.
So like,
For you, while you were initially in your practice, you must have also faced the this problem with the discipline to continue and to be consistent in it. Like, how was your way of approaching going towards it, or and what do you see in the current people that you are like training? How much is it
okay.
problem at that with their discipline and consistency?
So this is a good question, honestly. Like, it is also giving me a space to think about and talk to you about this. So as such, I never felt a challenge in consistency, because from very start it was just one thing for me to practice: playfulness and escape the world around me, and to get inside in a way that there is a lens always looking at it from another perspective. So consistency was not a challenge for me as such. Yes, my life circumstances could be a factor where I felt drained because I used to push. It was, it was in a start for me. The challenge was to not do anything and skip my practice. If I did, I felt bad. And I learned that that is affecting me a lot. And I learned from the teachers that not practicing on the mat, in the gym, and still being satisfied and still being content is also a practice. So practice outside of practice. So that's what I found later, and I right now pretty. That's the major difficulty with people to accept their current present situation. And basically, I say, if you don't accept what you have, how will you build something in the future? Because that's the only ground you will build your empire. So if you don't, yeah, you don't like it, you try to change it, but you can't just hate it. So people are like almost hating it. I have heard the word that I hate my body. So this psychologically creates a very huge block against oneself to progress. Because I see the growth that happened with me and the people who I have worked with had happened mostly under pressure with the things they didn't like. with the things they were running away from. And yeah, that's the biggest challenge with people because I meet people where I'm trying to meet people where they are emotionally, physically, and mentally. First, I was bit like I'll be honest, I was bit against like with my students per se because I was like, yeah, bro, please, why you're doing that? But then I started to have more broader perspective because I had to sustain client, of course, for my life, like living and stuff. And then that it showed me how to be compassionate because people are deeply wired and it's complex. The life itself is very complex. So I started to pull a thread. So where I try to meet them where they are. Some are very scared, others are stiff, others are ashamed. But I started to welcome them. Like it's all welcome here. Let just keep moving with this baggages and we will drop them. So I started to design my sessions accordingly to shift from passive to active. I started to like change their way of living in the class specifically, completely opposite. So if they are most of the time standing or they are sitting on the chair, I started to make them go on the floor and they started to use very basic stuff which is not too overwhelming for them, but all with awareness. So that was a very big challenge. Still, it's a challenge, but it's not so tough for me right now. I love this challenge. I enjoy this challenge because it helped me to be better person, better man. How I deal with people to get them because ultimately the purpose is to help them.
Perfect. So, like, people have certain kind of problem, and the way they think about themselves is very different from like how they should be thinking and being grateful and compassionate about themselves. But that's not what we see.
Variations.
We have talked about the movement and how you came up to understanding of the movement and to this point, and like what the different components that you have touched, and what are the different components you think are in this movement culture with your current understanding and the things that you are learning.
Okay. Okay. So before that, I would like to give the context of what I'm going to share here. What I feel the hardest part or the challenging part is it isn't physical. It it's more about breaking patterns of thinking, behaving, and believing. So I started to take another route. First, I was taking it for very deep work with people. As I noticed people wanting fast results without deep work.
Mhm.
But then that also didn't work very well because I believe if the person is not there, how will you help him? You must need him or her to be there so that you can help him out. So to keep them, I started to approach it the way I used to, which is playfulness. I started to bring elements like I learned using our own bodies, objects like stick, balls, football, tennis balls, work like animal movements. So to just keep them engaged, and I felt that it everything starts from physical on this planet. So if I told someone to watch their anger or watch their happiness, it was very difficult for them to watch them separately without being that emotion. But it was very easy for me to make them sense their body comparatively. So I started to use body as a tool to reach pierce the layers and reach the mind and eventually the consciousness. So I started to use a certain method to undo the years of gym conditioning people had where the pain is glorified and the rest is guilt. I did it completely opposite.
This is the quality that you bring into your practices for yourself and for your
In my practices
people you train.
for others.
And
Yes. Because what I, yes. Because as I mentioned, first initial take, my initial step started from very physical. Like I did just physical work, or not much into the depth of philosophy of movement and stuff. And it worked. It worked well. But then, as I started to learn more about spirituality and this stuff, I started to apply like direct meditation work and breath work, which some people just rebounded. So then I found a middle way where I use the body. I utilize the body as a tool to stimulate the senses, and through the senses, we reach the awareness. But the rest is very important. So it was a challenge for me to undo the years of gymming conditioning
Mhm.
where like pain is like some reward and rest is guilt. I tried to change that using the methods like yoga nidra and nervous system resets and a lot of stuff. So I started to design accordingly for an individual, but the most common format of my approach was to elevate their physical activity such that they get tired and the no energy left in the body, so we can now drop the body into the rest position. So
Okay.
it's like if I give a guy who is doing gym for years and I tell him to just sit down and meditate, like just focus on the breath, he will be frustrated. So I approached another way. I started to give them a stick and told them to balance now. Then I started to give them tennis ball and say, let's just for 10 minutes focus on throwing and catching, and see what our body parts are doing. So this in general gave the transition for them from complete physical to transitioning into more inner stillness, from something that is always still when everything is moving. So these are some tools and these are some methods that I
Built up to,
take approach
yeah,
with. Yeah,
for yourself also.
to get them. Yeah, to first, yes. For me, it was a bit easier because like I had like I was always uh having the first-hand experience of the techniques. So for me, it was not so difficult to practice and continue the practices. For me, it was difficult to uh would say get the right guidance because there has never been a teacher on along my side for a long time. And since I guess 2016, 17, I'm all by myself. So I need to know where I am going wrong. So that was most difficult for me. But yes, I have applied that protocols with me first and it worked out. And then I would say just naturally people with the similar issues started to attract, and it happened. I started to like just share what I have experienced, and it worked for them also. May not be the same exact path or track.
Mhm.
Maybe I need to take detour, but the end is the same.
And okay. And what there is one thing. This is a quality of one quality aspect of the training, which is playfulness. If we can categorize it, these words, this would be come under like equality. A playfulness would be a quality in the physical practice.
I agree. Yeah.
And then the kind of movements that you do, that comes from a different disciplines. And what different disciplines can we think about in our practice that you teach or you do in your own practice? What kind of different disciplines, like yoga you have already told, and yeah, what are the different disciplines that you teach and incorporate in your own practice?
Yeah. So now, as I discussed earlier, that the sequence of the way I experience all these disciplines, every time I learn new discipline, my perspective has been shifting. So initially, I was more into, I would say, passively training strength. Passively means that I'm not actively looking for strength purpose, but the workouts that I did, my workout time, whatever I practice, has been more of the strength work. So that's the one thing that I focus on. The discipline that I mostly look out for to practice strength work comes from gymnastics, calisthenics. This is the major part of my strength work. Then I found out that strength is the base of all the skills. You need strength to do any movement. If you lack basic strength, you can't do any movement. So that has been a foundational teaching for me, whosoever I teach. Then comes yoga part. So the discipline yoga gives us an opportunity to face the truth, the reality that generally we avoid. The again, same thing, thoughts and your emotions. So how to sit and how to prepare the body to uh, to the point that it can sit for extended period of time, and only when the body can sit or lay still, you can uh, observe without getting overwhelmed, observe the mind and observe the activity of the mind without getting anxious or without getting yeah, overwhelming.
Yeah, agitated.
Then Pilates, yes, agitated. So this helps. And yeah, Pilates is also there. So Pilates, mostly the Pilates that I use for myself and others is for the purpose of connecting the core. How to connect with the core and what the core is another topic all along. But Pilates teaches in a very simple and a very best way how to not build the core first, but how to connect it. What is core? So this is where Pilates comes in the picture, and there are some uh, practices coming from yogic traditions. Some comes from occult practices, so chanting and gazing and stuff. So I practice this also, but this is very rare cases, like very few who really understand who are beyond that physical part. So these are the some of my practices that has been cultivated from very start of my journey and the teaching journey as well. But recently I am using capoeira elements. I would say a lot because capoeira is, first of all, there is a quality, as we said, playfulness in it. So it keeps me engaged. It keeps me childlike. So I use the same with people, not for a capoeira like capoeirista, but just to not feel like another chore, just to get some movement done without too much of detail in it.
Right.
So these are the few disciplines: gymnastics, calisthenics, yoga. Yoga, maybe hatha yoga is something I follow a lot. Ashtanga is something that I use the asanas from.
Mhm.
My personal practice relies more on hatha yoga, very raw form of yoga, Pilates, and capoeira.
Awesome. This has been your exploration into these disciplines.
Yes, sir.
Like, have you touched upon the Shaivism Tantra?
Yes, sir. But I did it. I am still doing it for my practice. And to be specific, it's Vijnana Bhairav Tantra, where there is a dialogue happening between Shiva, Lord Shiva, and Goddess Parvati, where they discuss about what is life and how you can know what it is, how you can reach the ultimate truth. So yes, I have touched it. I have practiced it, and I have still the essence of the practice with me in my regular days.
Okay, that is something that I've recently got introduced to, and my interest had been into that. I thought I would ask you as well.
Interesting. Yes.
Whatever we had from the history, it's much more rooted into our own physical being, our breath, and our thoughts. I get more connected with the Chinese medicines, Indian practices, and everything revolving around the Eastern. So that is something I take a great interest in. Okay, so what do you think when you like get into the movement and you are doing it by yourself? Sometimes people get along and they don't continue. It's still important that we should strive for ourselves to be consistent. And in that, what do you think is the importance of having a good community in this moment space, or just being a learner in a solitude uh would be a good thing? What do you think about this? The importance of a good community.
Okay. Okay. I think the both are needed. The practice and the retreat in solitude and exposing yourself in the community to again expose yourself to your limits, uh, to know yourself, and then take it back to the solid practices. So because I feel both are essentials, both see they serve the purpose, but I think they serve exactly opposite purposes, and they both are needed. Solitude is more where you listen. It's where you confront your own or your resistance. You go face to face with your existence, developing inner internal discipline and moving at your own pace. So that's where deep depth comes from. No noise, no external validation, but community. That's what that's where you expand. That's what helps you to push beyond where the solitude cannot, where you are seen, challenged, and supported as well. You move with others, and in doing so, you feel yourself differently. You learn to adapt, you respond, you play, not just perform. So I believe in a rhythm between these two: solitude for integration and community for reflection and growth. So you don't grow alone forever, I see, and you don't evolve in a crowd as well without knowing who you are. So that's my take on this solitude versus community approach. I'm trying to get an analogy for this, and what I'm getting in my mind right now is that solitude is the time. So community is where you can see yourself in the mirror. Okay, that what you think of yourself and what your reflection says would be completely different. And solitude is more like you becoming your own light. So you are lighting up all the corners of yourself, uh, where you are the only judge and you are the only, what do you say, the guy in the front of the judge who is to be judged. So both comes under very, a very important uh, uh, aspect, I guess. Both are necessary in a balance. That's what I said, that if you go too much just a community, I think you will lose yourself in community and you won't maybe know who you really or truly are. And if you just stay solitude, again the same thing, because we coexist with other beings. I won't be maybe able to deal with the outside or the external. I might be better alone, but I can't live alone. I need community.
Hmm. That is what connects us, and both are actually important to like maintain the balance of it.
Yeah.
In context of practice that we do in how we approach our practice, because like if we say like if we are running and I have felt this when I'm connected to some kind of community, I feel more kind of a belonging place that I can call my like this is where I belong. And with my own practice, this is where I see what are the defects that I have and what is lacking within me. So
Yeah.
this is the self-reflective way of what I thought about solitude, because I have also practiced in a solitude for very long, and just when I get a taste of being in a place where I get to have the same similar kind of people, I get more energy. It's like a collective energy.
True.
So
Yes. So just to put it in a bit other words, like more depth in this perspective, then it could be like you can see the self practice is more rooted in solitude, where like I explore freely. There are no performance. There are no plans sometimes. So it's where I try things. I feel stuck. I get curious and go deep into my body's feedback. I believe that if I can't face myself alone, my boredom, my pain, my ego, I can't be honest when I teach others. And at the same time, if I don't isolate myself, um, community keeps me accountable and evolving. That's why I see the community is part. Like that's where I grow in ways I can't on my own. And hence the approach is rhythmic. Deep work in solitude, and I think more expansion. Expansion happen in community. You grow larger, you are more than just yourself now.
okay, so like the movement and this whole personal practice also needs some kind of fuel to keep on going. And I want to bring to the topic of nutrition. Uh, what
Okay.
what do you think? Like there are a lot of different nutritional approaches, and which do you follow in your own spline? And what are the experiences that you had
Again.
with the nutrition?
So as we mentioned at the start of our conversation, that movement now for me is not just a movement practice that I do 1 hour, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days a week. It's a part of life. And the same goes for the nutrition. I think nutrition, like movement, is deeply individual as well. It's a whole. It's like there is no one size fits for all. I have seen people thriving on very different approaches, from strict protocols to intuitive eating. So I try not to subscribe to any dogma as such, because it keeps changing. The world is changing. The world is alive. The nature is alive, and things are changing. Weather is changing. Food is changing. So something that worked even for me in my past won't work for me now. So personally, I follow something quite simple, like eat what makes me feel alive, not just full. So I stay close to whole foods, try to avoid processed junk, but I sometimes just enjoy it also. And yeah, I listen to how my body reacts, not just physically, but more like my thoughts mentally and emotionally, how I feel after eating sometime. I fast sometimes when it feels natural. I have extended my fast to like 72 plus hours. Sometimes I just go on not eating my dinner because I don't feel like the need. I might be hungry, I might be craving for taste and taste buds, but I skip it at all if I don't feel like I need the nutrition. So I eat more when I'm training hard. Yeah, that's for true. Otherwise, if I am in certain circumstances where I can't manage my food to the peak in terms of calories and nutrition, I will just bring down my intensity in the training, and I go more gentler in my practices. And I allow space for enjoyment most of the time. I don't make it another like, oh, you must or otherwise this will happen. Yeah, I will keep the truth. So I give example of an ice cream. So people are very much in like, oh, you can't eat ice cream and it gives you so much of sugar, which is a fact. But I see it as like if you still do eat it with awareness. Do it with so much awareness that there is nothing left behind when you finish it. Like you take taste of it, you take every every single moment of eating that thing, uh, where you are sensing how it goes in down your food pipe and how it makes you feel in your belly and what happens after eating it and first 3 hours or 5 hours or so. So this is how I go by when it comes to food. I just go, I eat. I'm not against any food or no food is against me. So it's not perfect, I guess, but it's more responsive eating. And the real problem is when people eat out of punishment, like boredom, punishment, or shame. So just like movement, eating should come from awareness, not fear. And if your food is feeding your guilt more than your body, I think it's time to shift. It's time to shift the thoughts, perspective, or the food pattern you have.
Awesome. Yeah, this is something very important, I guess. The connection of emotions to your food and how it channels into your the patterns of behaviors, how we bring food into our body and the connection associated with it.
Yes.
Do you have any guilty pleasures that you
So many. I love binging on ice creams, bro. That's why I think I have these examples. I love binging on ice cream, but yeah, sometimes I also eat emotional, like I do emotional eating, and that's where, see, honestly, I say I don't teach people. I just share what my life experiences are, the pros and cons of what I did, and if that they want some certain results, then they'll do this or that. So so my food habits is like if I go with discipline, I will like months pass by, I don't eat anything outside. But sometimes I crash and I feel like I just want to drop every liberation, like every restriction from me, and I want to liberate myself through food. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, I don't have any likes and dislikes in the food. So this has been a long time. People ask me, "What's your favorite food?" And I just go by saying food. Food is my favorite. Yeah. So because I think I have been beyond taste, and that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the tasty food or everything is the same. But when I eat it, I see more nutrition and more what it the nourishment coming from the food rather than just the taste, because then it would be bias. Tastiest food won't be healthy for you maybe sometimes, and the healthiest food won't be so tasty.
yeah. What do you prefer? Are you vegetarian, non-vegetarian? What do you consume? Which kind of food do you consume for your like when you're practicing a very heavy day or on other days when you're trying to maintain yourself?
Okay, okay, good question. So I'm not a good cook, and I do cook some things, but I don't like to cook much because the mess and stuff. So what I go by is the food which is easier to make, less cooked food, like preparing the food mostly steamed or raw. So I have vegetables, fruits during the day. So I will go at least 3 to 4 kind of vegetables throughout the day, 2 to 3 kinds of fruits. My go-to fruits are banana, apples. Uh, my majority of protein source comes from, yeah. So basically, if this is the term vegetarian, I am everything vegetarian except I eat eggs. So that's for my quick protein requirement. Otherwise, I go with some dairy products, uh, milk, curd, ghee. So I like, there are times where I just sip a spoon of ghee, and that's my breakfast. So I start my day with having warm water and tablespoon of ghee. Uh, my nights are usually very less with the food. So let's say some recipe with the rice, or traditionally we have khichdi, the best gift in the food. Wherever you are, you can make khichdi. So I look for like the ratio of all the macros comes under, and I don't just go by every day. I keep a check weekly. So I average it weekly. If some days goes by completely not eating anything, then some days would be like I eat a lot in one meal. But I try to keep it like in a window that kind of intermittent fasting. That one time I like for majority it's my midday where I eat the major of my meal, and it makes me feel better than eating much in the night. So these are the things. What I remember is oats and soya chunks, soya, all the nuts, majorly it's walnuts and so these are for good fat source. They are for good fat sources. Uh, yeah, rest is my Indian standard meal, roti and sabzi and stuff, but less cooked in oil, like more kept nutrition dense as it is.
Awesome. This is like you consume your protein source in much balanced way. I'd say balanced.
Yes, that's the word. That's the word. The balance way. Balance, less processed, less cooked, more cooked traditionally. That means using the utensils which were made uh, earlier in days and not like stainless steel. And I try to avoid that. So these things I think keeps me like good. I never faced any issue with digestion and stuff like that. Never in my life, except I'm sick if something happened in rare cases. But there never was a time where any food affected me, my belly or my stomach in a way that I am suffering then after eating food.
So, how would you say your immunity is like? Is it good, strong, or do you get sick often?
We, I would say pretty strong, not boasting, but it's pretty strong. Rarely get sick, rarely, and I think it's more mentally. Yeah. So as I told you that I don't have any like I'm not picky about food. I eat according to season. I eat according to the properties of food, and, and I think my upbringing was such that I was taught to eat whatever there is in your plate, whatever is given to you, and not be biased to the food. And it was but more coming from, I think, religion and more like a God perspective, like it's a blessing that we are getting food and stuff. But as I grew up, I understood that how it has impacted me to build a strong immune.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm pretty strong with my immune. Even in terms of recovery as well, injuries, stuff like that, they are resolved much easier.
Like talking about injuries, that does that, like how much has that impacted you and sent back your training journey, like you are learning any skill, and majorly it happens that injuries keeps us uh, slow in our progress towards whatever we wanted to do. And may ज़्यादातर जब हम लोग खुद से सीख रहे रहते हैं तब ऐसा रहता है कि हमें कुछ पता नहीं होता, हम गिर जाते हैं। एंड व्हाट व्हाट डू यू थिंक you should be preparation for the injuries? How you should be preparing yourself? Yeah. So my question is how you should be preparing your body for a good injury prevention way. How your approach should be. What are the components that you should be incorporating in your routine, a ritual way towards your mobility, towards how it should be approached to go away from the injuries and avoid them.
So first, I will share about me and how I dealt with the injury. So how my evolution around injury happened.
Hmm.
So in the beginning, injury meant stopping. But luckily, I didn't have any major injuries. Injuries would be small wear and tear of muscles or joint aches and stuff like that because of undernutrition. But then I resolved it first with taking proper rest. So over time, I learned to see differently. First, I saw injury as a wall, but now it's not as a stop. It's not a stopping sign. It's not a stop sign, but it's a signal. It's your way of body telling you where to stop and where to change your course of whatever practice you are doing. So now when I'm injured, I move. I just move differently than the usual day when I'm not. So I explore what's still available to me, what's still accessible to me. I listen more, I adapt, and my practices turns more inward during any kind of injury. So some of my most profound learning came through injury, and it taught me patience, creativity, and humility for others. So this is what I feel, and I have evolved in terms of approaching the injury. And when I say how to avoid, I would say uh, like avoiding injury is like completely avoiding is inevitable. You can lower down the risk of getting injured too much. But the first step to avoid injury is learning to listen, I guess.
How, what things or rituals can we
Yes.
fit into a practice that not avoid, but it prevents us from going into that situation where it's bound to happen. So the preparation part, what should be there?
Yes. So I would say first, injuries don't come out of nowhere. Like the body will start to whisper before it screams. But we override. We override those whispers with ego. Like, oh, how I can stop this? Like, what will happen if I stop this? And what now I can't. And the habits, or maybe the pressure to push through. It pressure can come from your friend circles. It can come from your trainers and stuff. So I focus the tool awareness. Awareness before intensity. Good preparation, smart progression, rest when needed, and not chasing movements you are not ready for is the first step towards avoiding the injury from happening. Also, uh, not confusing pain with progress. Learning the difference of discomfort that helps us grow and the pain that pulls us down. And it's not about avoiding the challenge as we said we can't. It's about respecting the body's rhythm and still enjoy the process. Now, if I come to the rituals that creates this rhythm and the rhythm that protects us from getting injured, I believe in simply daily stuff that tune your body before the walls pull you out of it. So the moment you start your day, the moment you wake up, from that point to the moment you go back to the bed, there are some things like joint preparations that we usually do, and it comes from disciplines like gymnastics, calisthenics now, Pilates. Uh, Shaking sometimes is a very like shaking, simply shaking your body for a prolonged period of time can help you a lot in terms of staying away from the injury. Then basic two movements which I think everyone should have, is hanging and squatting, the primal positions to decompress and restore your spinal range, mobility, and flexibility. Other practices could be, I would say, body scan. Yeah, this is also one of very profound, very like simple thing, but very effective. Like lying down and just breathing and feeling your body, like where it is holding, what's missing, what's touching the floor, what's not touching the floor. And yeah, this is the major rituals, sleeping patterns, your breathing patterns, learning them, first exploring them, and then making slight changes uh, can like change the course of your practices in terms of progress and risk of injuries, especially when the sleep, breath, and walking. Uh, stuff which is very simple, we do every day, if they are forgotten, and if these are off, injury isn't far. Then whatever you do, even if just walking down the stair, you can just twist your ankle and then you will have a bed rest for a month. So these aren't workouts, these aren't any other exercises I see, but I see they are tuning elements. So yeah, I think like same with the car. You don't wait for the car to break down. You check engine, right? You check oil is there. You see stuff. So you don't wait for the pain. You start to listen, and I think these are the tools which helps you to listen better.
Hmm. So listening is much more important. Listening to your body,
Listening with awareness, yes.
not good. What are like these are the kind of myths which we hear from many people and their beliefs around it. What are like certain kind of things that you hear which are in the same zone of myths? Um,
See, the first myth that I come across is people think movement is punishment for how they eat or how they ate or something to check off a to do list. And I think it's neither. So whenever somebody start exercising, the sole purpose is like they had ate so much and now they have gained weight, so they must punish the body and then they get rid of it. Uh, Other myths would be something like you have to go hard, that's we just discussed, or it doesn't count. If you haven't sweat, that's not a movement. It's not an exercise or movement practice. Uh, then yeah, you must look a certain way to be fit. Because I have seen a guy who was weighing 100 plus kgs and he was doing backflips and tumbling and so many other flips, which I can't. Where I look way fitter if that was a right thing. Then, yeah, people I have trained with the older age, they face the difficulty that older bodies can't improve. Like after a certain age, they can't train, they can't do that. And mm, rest is also underrated. Rest is very underrated. People think rest is bad.
do you like have like people kind of see what certifications and credibility, like social proof. That's what works when it comes to physical things, and you become the portfolio. Your body becomes a portfolio of how you uh, lead people, and that is how I have seen certain kind of people won't get a training or a leadership kind of role in their life until they see a social proof from a person they want to have that role. So what do you think about e- even though a person didn't have any kind of certifications, how can they display their knowledge about what they think and what kind of practices they do, and do you have any certifications or any kind of things that you that's build this validity?
Good question. This is something which I have faced very positively because I don't have much of certifications. However, I have the information. Um, and this is a very, again, a debatable topic. I'll get into this. So, certification can open doors for opportunities, but I don't think they prove depth of knowledge or what the person has to offer. They are useful, yes. They show you have studied something without explaining much and you have completed the process, certain processes. But real understanding, I think, comes from the embodiment of the knowledge. And I've seen people with no certification move and teach with wisdom. And I've also seen people with many certificates who don't feel connected to their own bodies. So for me, certification is not validation as such. If anything that validates your knowledge is your practice, the way you move, how you communicate, how you hold space for others. I think that's the real resume. And if you have done the work, it will show. And I am like, for me, I am the example. Uh, Displaying the work through action, not just paper. So I think share your practice, your process, your philosophy. That's the one way to go without certifications, and let people feel it. Let they just feel your energy when you move, not just read it on the wall. But yes, having certification can take you to places, and that's also a fact. But only certification and no depth can be very dangerous for yourself as well as people that you teach or you in contact with.
Right. So, like, if you don't have something to show and that's the knowledge, then certification would be something, a very shallow thing to have.
Yes. And I think other way around is okay, but this way is going to be very dangerous. Uh, because you lack the depth. Certification nahi hoga to chalega. That's fine. If there is depth in the practice and there is a willingness to listen to others and to share with wisdom, this is a good place to be. If you have certification, it's a good combination. Nice. But if you have certification and only certification, I think we need to think before choosing a trainer or a teacher.
Yeah. Do you have pursued any studies into any field of strength and nutrition or any certification that you have pursued in the past or do you have doing?
Yes. Yes. So in the past, I did my yoga was the first certification in the fitness and health and journey. Second, I did Pilates, floor Pilates, where I learned most of the anatomical, like depth in the anatomies and muscle knowledge more. And I've did studied in energy healing, and it's a thing. Uh, and yeah, I did some diet coach course. Not a nutritionist, but a diet coach. Yeah, yeah. These are the certifications that I did, which I didn't have any like professional, um, uh, like I would say, I don't have professional, like technical part I know, but the thing is, I didn't do certification or any studies in calisthenics as per se, because I think calisthenics was made on the street. So it was not certification until some time ago. And bit of capoeira also. I did learn from some teacher, but I'm not certified. Yeah, these are the stuff. Also, certification gives you, it adds to your confidence also.
That's very important aspect I want to cover from you. So, what is your vision for your future from yourself and what are you actually have in mind, your goals?
Okay. This is a tricky question, bro, because I would like to keep it simple for myself. I want to just keep evolving as a human being through movement, not just a practitioner, but a person who lives within community. And I want to stay curious to keep peeling layers to explore what this body and mind are capable of. Not just for the performance again, not just for the show, but for presence and for more self inquiry. For others, my vision is to awaken the same curiosity. Like I want people to move not just to get fit, but to feel alive, to trust their bodies again, to play, to heal, to express, to connect. So not everyone needs to become an athlete, right? But everyone deserves to feel at home in their body. They must feel safe within their body. And if I can guide people toward that through awareness and consistency, then I think I'm living my vision.
Uh, Thank you so much for being on my this conversation. This is something that I was looking for, and this is I connect with you in a lot of things, and I wanted to get to know you in depth and what kind of beliefs that you have around your practice and your own journey, and the roots of your practice, and many things that I have learned from you. And it's very evident in your uh, words and in your actions that you deliver. And yeah, that's what I wanted to have in this conversation, and cover many aspects of ways that we can approach that is very explorative. So thanks for joining in and having this conversation.
So thank you so much for having me. And it's always, it's been a real pleasure to share this space and speak from the heart. Whenever we meet, we have this kind of conversation. And I like the idea of bringing up to a podcast and um, let others listen to this conversation. So I hope something in this conversation sparked the thought, a question, or a new way of seeing movement and self practice. And yeah, for anyone listening, stay curious, stay kind to your body, and keep exploring. I think that's where the real growth lives. Much love.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll see you soon.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you.
Yes, yes, sir. Bye bye.